The Georgetown University auditorium erupted as Karoline Leavitt's face turned bright red, her voice cracking with desperation. "You're just jealous because I worked for President Trump. I'm the future of the Republican Party." Her hands trembled as she gripped the podium. But Jasmine Crockett remained perfectly composed, waiting for the outburst to end before delivering the words that would end Leavitt's political aspirations forever. "You're not the future of anything, Karoline. You're a rich girl who confused nepotism with merit and proximity to power with actual ability." The audience gasped as Leavitt's eyes filled with tears, realizing her entire fabricated persona had just been demolished on live television. The confrontation that would expose the hollow nature of performative MAGA politics took place at Georgetown University's prestigious Youth Political Forum, where two vastly different visions of political engagement collided. Karoline Leavitt, the self-proclaimed voice of young conservatives, had built her entire brand on social media outrage and proximity to Trump, despite having never accomplished anything of substance. At 26, she represented the Instagram politics generation, all performance, no policy. Jasmine Crockett embodied everything Leavitt pretended to be, someone who had actually worked for success, who understood law because she'd practiced it, who fought for people in courtrooms rather than on Twitter. This collision between manufactured political celebrity and genuine public service would prove more devastating than anyone anticipated. The forum began with typical collegiate energy, hundreds of politically engaged students filling the auditorium to hear perspectives on engaging young voters. Leavitt arrived dressed like she was auditioning for Fox News, immediately launching into her rehearsed talking points about the woke mob and radical left destroying America. She spoke in sound bites designed for social media clips, each sentence crafted to generate outrage rather than understanding. Her presentation was a masterclass in saying nothing with maximum volume, attacking elites despite her private school education, condemning career politicians despite never having a career outside politics. The tension exploded when Leavitt turned her attention to Crockett, who had been discussing substantive policy solutions for student debt and youth unemployment. "This is exactly what's wrong with Democrats like Representative Crockett," Leavitt declared, her voice dripping with manufactured disdain. "All this virtue signaling and identity politics from people who've never had real jobs. Real Americans are tired of being lectured by out-of-touch radicals who don't understand working families." She continued, building to what she clearly thought was a devastating attack. "Crockett represents everything that's destroying American values, the radical woke agenda that puts pronouns over patriotism, feelings over facts. She's another coastal elite pretending to care about regular people while pushing socialism." The audience shifted uncomfortably as Leavitt's attacks became increasingly personal and unhinged. She questioned Crockett's patriotism for criticizing systemic issues, suggested she only got elected because of her race, and claimed real Americans rejected everything Crockett represented. Her voice grew shriller with each accusation, mistaking volume for authority, aggression for strength. She finished with what she believed was her killing blow. "At least I've worked in the real center of power, advising the President of the United States, while Crockett was just another lawyer nobody had heard of." Crockett let Leavitt exhaust her entire arsenal of talking points before calmly opening a folder she had brought to the podium. Her silence was more powerful than any immediate response, forcing the audience to sit with the emptiness of Leavitt's attacks. When she finally spoke, her voice carried the quiet confidence of someone who had done their homework. "Ms. Leavitt, you mentioned real jobs and working families. Let's discuss your actual background." She began presenting research that painted a very different picture from Leavitt's carefully crafted working-class warrior persona. The documents revealed that Leavitt came from extreme wealth, her father owning a chain of luxury car dealerships across New Hampshire. She had never held a job that wasn't arranged through family connections. Her path to the White House was paved with donations from her father's business associates to Trump's campaign. The senior advisor role she claimed was actually an entry-level assistant position that involved fetching coffee and managing schedules. Crockett presented pay stubs showing Leavitt earned less than the White House janitors, hardly the influential position she portrayed on social media. The audience began murmuring as Crockett continued revealing the gap between Leavitt's public persona and reality. She presented Leavitt's college transcripts showing a 2.1 GPA despite attending on a legacy admission, barely graduating after multiple academic probations. She showed deleted social media posts from Leavitt's college years mocking minimum wage workers, calling them losers who couldn't get real jobs, and posting photos of expensive vacations with captions like, "Sorry, not sorry for being successful." Each revelation stripped away another layer of Leavitt's fabricated working-class champion image. The first major twist came when Crockett revealed internal White House communications about Leavitt that had been leaked by former staffers. The emails were devastating. Senior advisors referred to her as the intern who won't leave and desperately thirsty for camera time. One particularly damaging email from Stephen Miller described her as intellectually vacant but useful for photo ops. Another from Hope Hicks warned staff to keep Leavitt away from actual policy work because she doesn't understand basic governmental functions and thinks Twitter is governance. But the most shocking revelation was a memo from Chief of Staff Mark Meadows formally reprimanding Leavitt for leaking false information to media outlets in an attempt to get herself quoted. The memo detailed how she had fabricated quotes from Trump to make herself seem more important, invented meetings she never attended, and lied about her involvement in policy decisions. Meadows had written that she was dangerously unqualified and embarrassingly desperate for attention, and recommended her immediate termination. She was ultimately allowed to stay only because her father's donations were too valuable to lose. Leavitt's face cycled through expressions of shock, rage, and panic as each document was presented. She attempted to interrupt several times, but Crockett maintained control of the moment with prosecutorial precision. When Leavitt claimed the documents were fake, Crockett provided verification from the National Archives. When she said they were out of context, Crockett read the full emails. When she accused Crockett of attacking her because she was young and successful, Crockett simply continued presenting evidence. The climactic destruction began when Crockett shifted from documents to a more personal dismantling. Ms. Leavitt, you called me out of touch with working families. I grew up with a single mother who worked 3 jobs. I put myself through law school with loans I'm still paying off. I defended people who couldn't afford representation, people your father's dealerships probably repossessed cars from. You grew up with servants, private jets, and a trust fund. You've never worked a day in your life that wasn't handed to you by daddy's connections. She continued while Leavitt stood frozen, her rehearsed talking points useless against actual facts. You say I don't understand real America, but I've lived it. I've been the person counting pennies for gas, skipping meals to pay rent, working overnight shifts to afford textbooks. You've been posting Instagram photos from Aspen while claiming to fight for the working class. You tweet about American values from your father's yacht. You lecture about hard work from a penthouse purchased with inherited wealth. Crockett then addressed the audience directly, her voice carrying moral authority that commanded complete attention. This is what's actually destroying our politics, people like Ms. Leavitt who treat public service as a personal branding opportunity. She doesn't care about policy because she's never needed policy to protect her. She doesn't understand struggle because she's never struggled. She attacks education because she failed at it, expertise because she lacks it, and experience because she's never earned it. She's not the future of the Republican Party. She's a cautionary tale about what happens when social media followers are confused with qualifications. The devastating moment that would go viral came when Crockett delivered her final assessment. Karoline, you're not the future of anything. You're a rich girl who confused nepotism with merit, Instagram followers with influence, and proximity to power with actual ability. I've defended real people in real courtrooms while you were fetching Trump's Diet Coke. I've written legislation while you were writing tweets. I've served my constituents while you were serving coffee. The only thing you've ever fought for is camera time, and the only thing you've ever earned is the contempt of actual public servants who do real work. She paused, allowing the silence to build before delivering the ultimate destruction. You call me unpatriotic? I serve my country in Congress. You serve coffee in the White House. You call me radical? I'm advocating for policies that help working families. You're advocating for yourself. You say I'm out of touch. I still drive a 10-year-old Honda. You've never driven anything that wasn't bought by Daddy. There's a difference between being elected and being an intern, between public service and personal promotion, between earning your position and inheriting it. And everyone in this room knows exactly which category you fall into. Leavitt's composure completely shattered. Her face crumpled as tears began streaming down her cheeks, her carefully applied makeup running in black streaks. She attempted to speak, but only managed incoherent sputtering between sobs. She looked desperately at the audience for support, but found only uncomfortable silence and averted eyes. Even the conservative students who had come to support her looked embarrassed by the complete exposure of her fraudulence. In a moment that would define the end of her political aspirations, she grabbed her materials and ran from the stage, her heels clicking frantically as she fled, still sobbing audibly. The auditorium sat in stunned silence for several seconds before erupting. Students rose to their feet applauding, not for partisan reasons, but for witnessing the complete dismantling of everything wrong with performative politics. The moderator attempted to restore order, but eventually gave up as the standing ovation continued. Crockett remained at her podium, calmly organizing her documents, having delivered one of the most thorough political destructions ever witnessed. The image of her composed professionalism contrasted with Leavitt's tearful flight became the defining visual of authenticity triumphing over artifice. Within minutes, #Leavitt exposed and #InternNotAdvisor were trending globally. The video clips spread across every platform, with even conservative commentators unable to defend Leavitt's complete humiliation. Young Republicans distanced themselves, stating she didn't represent their values or approach. The leaked White House emails triggered discussions about nepotism and unqualified appointments in the Trump administration. Leavitt's social media followers plummeted by hundreds of thousands within hours as people realized they had been following a fabrication. The political aftermath was swift and complete. Leavitt's upcoming speaking engagements were canceled. Her contributor contracts with conservative networks were terminated. Book publishers withdrew their offers. The young conservative organizations that had promoted her quietly removed her from their materials. Republican candidates who had sought her endorsement pretended they had never heard of her. Within 24 hours, she had gone from rising star to cautionary tale, her entire political career destroyed by someone who had actually earned their position. Her father released a statement attempting to defend her, but only made things worse by confirming the family wealth and connections Crockett had exposed. Leavitt herself posted a rambling Instagram video attempting to claim she was victim of a woke mob hit job, but the tears and running mascara only reinforced the image of a spoiled child who had never faced real accountability. She eventually deleted all her social media accounts and retreated from public life entirely, her political ambitions thoroughly and permanently destroyed.